Today, we're talking about the newest attempt to expel some student debt. Missouri has gone through with its first use of capital punishment in 2024, and Arizona just used the dinosaur-era law to ban most to all abortions in the state. All in this Wednesday episode of... Sup, intro web? Happy hump day. We've got some potentially good news today, on top of some sad and some infuriating news. Alice, let's start with the good news first, cause, yeah, sorry ladies, you'll see.
President Joe Biden announced a new student debt forgiveness plan this Monday, aiming to assist about 30 million borrowers. This comes after a previous attempt was blocked by the Supreme Court last year. Biden's strategy now relies on the Higher Education Act for implementation, targeting borrowers who've been shouldering their college debt for decades.
Right, so President Joe Biden is taking another swing at widespread student loan forgiveness with the revamped plan that could provide relief for around 30 million Americans struggling with college debt, like me. The new proposal, unveiled Monday, aims to be life-changing for borrowers by canceling some or all of their outstanding loans. This latest attempt comes less than a year after the Supreme Court ruled against Biden's initial $20,000 debt cancellation efforts for about 40 million borrowers. With Americans shouldering a massive $1.7 trillion in student loans, a burden critics say hinders major milestones like, I don't know, home ownership, the president is trying a new legal approach. At a recent event in Madison, Wisconsin, Biden stated that a college degree is still a ticket for the middle class, but that ticket is getting too expensive for working and middle class folks to afford. The ability to repay those student loans has become so burdensome that many of them can't pay it off for decades after graduating, like me. So what's different this time around, and who can benefit? Well, here's a rough breakdown for you. The previous plan relied on a pandemic-era law that the Supreme Court rejected. We're all familiar. This time, Biden's turning towards the Higher Education Act, which allows the Education Secretary to compromise, waive, or release federal student loans. As for who may qualify, about 2.5 million borrowers in repayment for 20 plus years for their undergrad or 25 years for grad students. Those who attended low financial value programs, like some for-profit colleges. Borrowers facing hardship or high risk of default, like with medical debt. 25 million whose balances balloon due to interest or negative amortization. Amortization? I don't know how to say it, not a money guy. And 2 million low to middle income borrowers may also be eligible, but haven't applied yet. For the next steps, the Education Department plans to release a formal proposal and open a public comment period in the next coming months. If finalized by November 1st, the rule could take effect in July 2025, though Biden may try to implement it sooner. Conservative opponents are expected to sue, potentially stalling the plan until after the 2024 election. In other words, a Trump victory could doom Biden's debt relief efforts altogether. But let's be honest and make things very clear. The effort only exists because they believe that's what's going to keep him in office in the first place, not because they want us to have more money. No, actually, they might want us to have more money. It's more money for them to take, but they're already going to take it in the first place. So they're just doing this because they think he's going to win off of it. With millions of borrowers hanging their hopes on broad forgiveness, the administration at least appears to be determined to deliver promised relief. Appears. But again, just because it appears to be doing something doesn't mean they actually are doing something. Anyway, significant legal and political hurdles are 100% going to be a thing, so just prepare for that.
Next, we're discussing a somber event from Missouri. Brian Dorsey, 52, was executed late Tuesday afternoon, marking Missouri's first execution in 2024. Dorsey was convicted of unaliving his cousin, Sarah, and her husband, Ben Bonney, nearly 2 decades ago. Before his death, Dorsey released a statement expressing deep remorse for his actions and thanking his family and legal team.
Okay, so like Alice said, a Missouri man who was guilty of unaliving his cousin and her husband was put to death yesterday, or Tuesday evening. Brian Dorsey, age 52, received a lethal dose of pentobarbital? I don't know, somebody tell me how to say that. And was pronounced dead at 6:11 p.m. at the state prison in Bonnetary. Just hours before the execution, Dorsey released a statement apologizing for his horrific crimes and thanking his family and legal team who've tried to overturn his death sentence. Dorsey was the first inmate executed in Missouri this year. The state also carried out 4 executions back in 2023 for your knowledge and context, I guess. Some context on the whole situation might be for good. So the double homicide happened on December 23rd, 2006, when Dorsey unalived his cousin Sarah Bonney and her husband Ben in their home near Jefferson City. Prosecutors said Dorsey was trying to get some money from Sarah to pay off drug dealers when he used a shotgun to unalive the couple in their bedroom. Their 4-year-old daughter was also in the home, but luckily wasn't harmed. After pleading guilty to the crime, Dorsey was sentenced to death in 2008. Obviously, any appeals for leniency were rejected, despite a petition for clemency signed by 72 corrections officers officers, citing his good behavior and efforts. Even former Missouri Supreme Court Chief Justice Michael Wolff also urged the governor to commute the sentencing to life, saying his legal representation was inadequate and the evidence of a drug-induced psychosis wasn't even considered. But Governor Mike Parson, a former sheriff, denied said request. The US Supreme Court also rejected Dorsey's final appeals. Okay, now the justice system often grapples with challenges of recognizing acts of redemption while holding individuals accountable for serious offenses. Dorsey's case massively underscores this challenge. Despite his guilty plea, his subsequent behavior in prison, and the appeals highlighting his rehab efforts and good behavior, the final decision was still in favor of the death penalty. This decision reflects a stance where the magnitude of the crime overshadows personal transformation, reinforcing the principle that certain actions have irreversible consequences. The question of mercy within the justice system is, let's say, complex. Mercy by its nature involves leniency or compassion being shown even when it's within one's power to punish or harm. A petition signed by 72 officers and a plea from a former Missouri Supreme Court justice suggests that there are individuals within the system who see value in mercy. These gestures highlight the belief in potential for change and the human capacity for redemption. However, the governor's decision not to grant clemency illustrates the competing belief in that justice, particularly in heinous crimes, sometimes necessitates the ultimate penalty. Balancing justice, mercy, and redemption involves a delicate interplay of factors, including the nature of the crime, the impact of the victims and their families, societal expectations, and the beliefs about human capacity for change. The system is tasked with not only punishing wrongdoers, but also deterring those crimes and rehabilitating offenders. The debate over the death penalty and its applications reflects broader societal questions about the effectiveness of capital punishment as a deterrent, the possibility of wrongful convictions, and the ethical considerations of taking a life as a form of punishment.
In a significant ruling, Arizona's Supreme Court has reignited a 160-year-old ban on nearly all abortions, setting a precedent that places the state among the nation's strictest in terms of abortion limits.
Cool, here we go again. Arizona's top court just turned up the heat on the abortion debate, reviving a 160-year-old ban that could make the state an outlier with some of the strictest limitations nationwide. In a 4-2 ruling on Tuesday, the Arizona Supreme Court said a recent law allowing abortions up to 15 weeks doesn't override a territorial-era ban from 1864 that prohibits the procedure at any stage except to save the mother's life. Cool, so for perspective, on December 18th, 1865, 1 year later, the 13th Amendment was adopted as part of the Constitution officially abolishing slavery. So these dipshits are pulling laws from when slavery was still legal. So by their own justification, slavery should still be fair game, no? How are people this stupid? Honestly, can somebody answer that question for me? Anyways, the decision adds fuel to an already raging fire over abortion access after the US Supreme Court axed the federal protections last year. With rules differing widely across the country, the issue remains a political powder keg heading into this next election. While the Arizona ban is temporarily blocked for a couple weeks, if enforced, it would join just a handful of states like Oklahoma and Texas banning nearly all abortions. The ruling does raise the stakes in Arizona a little bit, a former GOP stronghold that has been purpling as of late. Look, abortion was a major factor in the 2022 midterms when Democrats swept statewide offices, and with as many high-profile races on the docket this November, including a pivotal battle that could determine the control of Congress, Arizona voters could once again play a crucial role. Abortion rights groups are trying to get a ballot measure protecting access before viability, but that's no easy feat. And while the Democratic Attorney General vows not to prosecute providers for now, local prosecutors could still come after doctors if the ban kicks in. With Arizona's rollercoaster fight likely heading to the ballot box, reproductive rights could well decide whether the swing state continues moderating or reverts to its Republican roots in 2024. For an issue expected to rage into the next White House race, I don't know if this is a smart battle for Arizona to pick right now, but like always, what do I know? And on that, we're gonna call it. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and let YouTube know to spread the word. And, well, I'll see you next time. Bye!